And we're back with some more Satisfactory. And today, this horrible mess of a factory. Who am I kidding? It's beautiful. I love this mess. We're going to make a few changes. Namely, we're going to replace the entire factory by building another factory on top of it. Now, you'll notice there's two layers there. That bottom layer is going to be full of messy piping below it. And the layer on top will be our nice, shiny factory goes. However, we do have a little bit of a problem at the moment. And that's to do with power. You'll notice there that our consumption is actually quite high and our production is quite low. We're not maxing it out just yet, but we're definitely going to need to expand our power. So we're going to have to head over to coal. Now our coal power plants are okay. That didn't go according to plan. It looks like a present got in the way of our launcher. Oh damn it, present. Never mind. We'll try that again, and this time hopefully the launcher won't catapult us into a present. God damn it. Okay. These things, if you're not familiar with them, they're used for tubes for flying about the map, but if you basically stick nothing on the end of them, you can launch yourself quite a distance, which is really handy. It allows us to build up speed, and you can see over there is our coal power plants. Now, we don't... Wow. Okay, the night just went immediately dark and then immediately foggy. Over here, yes, you can see all our coal power plants that are set up. Oh, slow. Alright. So here's where all our coal is. We have, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, we got about 15 or 16 of them up and running. But I think we can do a little bit better than that. There is our improved coal production. Now what we've done is we've just extended this line along here. Since we first built this, we were able to add on Mark III transport belts. They can carry 270 coal per minute. 270 coal per minute can support that many coal power plants, 18 coal power plants. Each one only consumes 15. That's assuming, though, that you have... Where is it? We have a Mark II miner on the end. This only produces 240 coal per minute. So we're going to need to do a little bit of overclocking. Now, each one of these allows you to do a 50% extra overclock. So we can go up to 150, which gives us 360 parts per minute. Which, yep, we don't need that many, to be honest. We just need 270. Boom. Now, the reason we're actually limiting here is there's no point overclocking it more than you need to, because the power draw exponentially increases as opposed to the linear increase you get with the actual amount of parts you're getting out of it. So just overclocking it to 270 will saturate the transport belt and keep us exactly there, see? No more, no less. That fully saturates the transport belt, and that transport belt should now start flowing over there and, well, saturating all of the line and getting all the way to the end power production, because you can see the last ones there, they're not getting any just yet. Let's give that a few minutes. In fact, how much power is that giving us? Don't walk too close to that. If we walk too close to that, we'll get launched across the map again. Production, about 1700. You know what? I think this is not quite enough power, and we do have a whole strip of water there behind it. You know what I think? Yeah, let's stick down some more, maybe. If you are trying to put down your own coal power plants, my method is probably not the best, but you know what? Works fine for me. I will just stick that right there. Hit H so we can see where we're going. And that gives us 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There we go. And that gives us 18 of them. Now, these little... Oh, what would you call these things? Number 6. It is a pipeline floor hole. These I bought in the Awesome Shop for, I think, a ticket, maybe 2. I am not sure. But they definitely make things a little bit easier. So what we're going to do is come along to about the middle here and chuck one of those down. In between the two of these, we're going to be pumping water up through that hole. And then we do the same all the way along. Once we have those done all the way along, it is time to go down below. Down below is where we handle all the water. Oh, 1 second, we've already put down a few of these. But plan is we run a pipe from here up to there. Nice. Then we're also going to want to stick in a water pump. This is more than 20 meters up. Now see that blue pulsating line coming out of it? That's the wrong direction. We want the water going up that direction. So there we go. Also, we should probably put down some tiles here so that we can throw on some power poles. God damn it. Let me figure out how I'm going to fit some power poles in here. After a little bit of fiddling around, we've got power hooked up to these poles here. We stuck in a concrete strip. You can put the power poles in the water, but I don't mind a lot of mess, but there's a certain amount of mess where eventually I go, you know what, I'll just put in some concrete. Anyway, all of these then hook up to the little sinkholes that we put up there, or the whatever you call them. And we've stuck on some pumps to make sure the water goes through, and at the same time we couldn't fit them all in. Some of the water was too shallow, so we couldn't keep them all even, so there's a whole bunch of ones that are all askew, sideways, and just generally hideous. I'm pretty sure there's some people out there just screaming right now, but whatever, you know, it could be worse. Don't ask me how, but it probably could be. Anyway, we're going to head back over here to the other side, and we're going to start hooking these up. I like to hook up the water first because, oh my god, liquids are such a pain in the butt in this game. Alright, we will actually hook one up right here, and I'll show you how these things go in, because they are so finicky. You can't just put a pipe up into midair and stop it. And if we do hook them up like this, that's fine, but you can only hook up one. If you want to hook up two, what we could in theory do is try and stick one of these on there, but it gets all sorts of confusing and messy. And let's see here. Are you getting water? No, you are not. We're going to have to go down and delete that pipe. Never mind. I'll show you about that in a second. For now, we're going to grab one of these. We're going to stick you there. Put you up two chunks and rotate you like that. What this allows us to do is stick up a pipe just like that. And then it allows us to stick one of these cross junctions on it. You need to have a pipe segment running before you can stick a cross junction on. You can't stick a cross junction on top of one of these, whatever you may call them, little let-through things. And then we can hook those two up like that. Unfortunately, notice no water's getting through. Why is that? God knows, right? For example, if we come down here... Oh, damn it. If we just come down here and we delete that pipe segment, and then we replace it... There we go. And then we go right back up here. Come on. Come on. And we check... Still no water. Fine. Then I will delete this, and we'll do it all over again. It just... I don't know what it is, but sometimes it just doesn't work until you replace it a few times. I don't know what you're changing here, but there we go. Look, working now. But then you have to replace this, put in the cross junction again. Done, done, and... done. And water is flowing now. And then we have to repeat this all the way along, and probably have to go down and delete all the pipe segments below again. You know what? I'm going to delete the pipe segments below, hook everything up, and then hook up the last level of the pipe segments. So instead what we'll do is we will grab these, delete that. Actually, we'll delete two at a time. Yeah, this could take a few minutes. I'll be back in a moment. I think I figured out the least troublesome way to connect these. Just first put in your upward spout. Don't put in the cross section. And once the upward spout is in, then go down and connect the tubes from down here. If you try and do it any other way, it seems, you have to go back and delete things and replace them again and again and again. So, now for example, if we go back up to that one, come on. Oh my god, just come on, come on, come on. Just about perfect. Then if we go check this pipe over here, we should be able to see that we've got water in it. Yay! And that means we can finish this off, so I'm just going to pipe this whole lot up. It's now time to hook up all the coal. Now, the coal will come in here, we'll split it off onto that, and then we'll have to put them all the way along, one splitter for each. That seems a little bit time consuming, but thankfully we have the smart mod installed, so we'll just hit, I think it's H there? Yeah. Then if we push it forward, that's 1, 2, yep, and it just keeps pushing them forward all the way along and actually lining them up where we need them to go. So we'll just run that down to, I think that's the last one, is it? Oh, we might have went one too far. And then we'll just deploy all of them simultaneously. And would you look at that? It actually deploys the whole thing and puts the transport belt between them. We just deployed all of that in one quick setting. Now that's why I use the smart mod. People were saying use zooping. Yes, zooping is good, or whatever it's called, but that, you can't beat that. That's why I installed that thing straight up and just started playing around with it, because that just saves so much time and effort. Then all we do is you grab this, plug that in there, and off we go. Now if we've done this right, all of these should already be... Oh, yeah, I never hooked up this last one. You know what? Let's do it now. I was going to wait until one of them stockpiled a bit, but keep going. Done, done, done. Do we have power? Where is my... Okay, fine. I should probably plug in the connectors. Actually, I think I want them all to stockpile a little bit of coal beforehand. Let's give this a couple of minutes. Now, all the coal is all the way to the end, and power-wise, looking at production, is 1,950. Let's go around and hook up all these power plants. Now, this is going to take me a minute, because I got to run along on all of them and hook them all up to their prerequisite power poles, but just give me a few minutes. All done. You can see that nice spike in power as we hooked everything up. We're now to 3,300 megawatts. That should give us a little bit of extra power to add on our new expansion to the factory. Well, we will be demolishing the old stuff, so we'll have more power left over afterwards. So let's head back. Oh, and when you're going into this thing, the speed you go in at, I should probably go through how you build these. I just looked this up, to be honest. It was much easier that way. You grab a hypertube support, say put it there. Then you go 2 tiles away and put down another one. Then you just grab a hypertube link thingy. It's the little plastic tube thingies. There you go, you hook them up. Then you select the actual entrance section. Done. And then hook it up to power. And that's one launcher. And then you stack a whole bunch of them together. To get the distance I was going, I needed 10 of them. Make a few tests. I started at 4, then increased it to 6, 8, 10, until I got to the speed I wanted to. However, do be aware that the more you add on, the further you go, and as well as that, it also depends on a bunch of other factors. For example, if you go through wearing the boots, you'll be running faster. That means you'll get more of a speed boost, and you'll get flung further. Of course, do remember to switch back in your jetpack, otherwise, yeah, things could go badly wrong on the other side. Then you sort of just skim over to wherever you're going. This really cuts down on travel distance. Like, I had to run along there before. Nope, no more. Now we can just launch the whole way over and right about... Oop. There. Oh, come on. All right, this is where we're going to build our new factory. Now, let me just get a little bit of planning started. We are going to take the approach no one else seems to want to do, because it's a dumb idea. We're going to use a main bus. So along here we've got a bunch of outline segments where we can put in 20 belts of stuff. This is probably... I think we can get away with this. I think there's a way around this. So we're going to put in 9 smelters there. That's going to smelt up an entire row of iron ingots. Now, we are not going to use those iron ingots for anything but steel. We're going with a maximum steel approach. No iron ingots will be used. Iron ingots will not be used for anything but steel. It's going to be an odd thing, but I think we can get it to work. Then we're just going to have to put in the usual down here, which would be the splitters. Nope. There we go. And actually, let's test with these. Yes, it will actually connect up. I was worried I was a little bit too close there. But we do a 6 there. We line it up. We hit H, and then we just do a 1, 2, 3. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And done. That hooks them all up, and then all we have to do is hook in 1 belt of iron, doing 270 iron ore per minute. One moment, I'll be right back. Wait. Made a mistake. We need to put in one of these first. This will allow us to bring up a transport belt from below, straight through the concrete. Now, we could cut holes in the concrete and do all sorts of stuff, but this just makes it cleaner. Now, I don't want to give anyone any high hopes here. This is not going to be a super clean build. Your output should be going that direction. And look at that. That means we can go down under here. Where is it? Down here. And we can extend that down, and then we can feed in the iron ore from down here, meaning it won't look nearly as ugly. I mean, don't worry, we'll definitely make it look ugly after a while, but at least at the start it'll look kind of clean. Let me find an iron ore line we're not using too much. Next up, we're going to need coal to make that steel. So we tapped into these 2 normal coal nodes. We cranked them up by 115% to get ourselves the 270 to saturate 1 transport belt, merged them together, and then, well, let's just say we ran a really, really long transport belt. But it's fine. It's all made out of steel. We'll have plenty of that in a minute anyway. So this goes all the way back here. Comes all the way along this transport belt and goes up that tube. Come on, get me up there. All right, this is where we're going to do all our steel smelting. So this is going to be alternate solid steel ingots. And this is a very important recipe. This one takes 2 iron ingots and 2 coal and makes 3 steel ingots. Now that might not seem amazing, but if we just go grab this one over here, the default recipe you get is steel ingots, which takes 3 iron ore and 3 coal, meaning you get 50% more out when you do it this way. Also, there's some other things you can do later. But I mean, these ones here are not too bad. 15 gets you 20, so 15 iron ore gets you 20 steel ingots, and this one is what, 6 and... what does this require? Yeah, this required compacted coal, so this is a little bit more complicated. But we're just going solid steel the whole way down along the line. One thing we're also going to do that's quite nice is we're going to use this sort of little split level technique where you have 1 row of coal coming in here and the iron ingots are going to come in on top. And not only that, the smart mod which we have installed, or is it conveyor splitter? This is actually quite smart about this. Come on, where are you? There, if we do the scroll wheel, we can get ourselves up one of those. And that allows us to, say, put that there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. And done. It's merged them all the way along the line. Now, we do have to hook up this one because I didn't do the first one. I wanted to show you how it was done, but it would have done this one if we had it set it up. and done, and done. And then we should see the coal ripple along there and go all the way along the line, all the way to the end. Then that leaves us the only thing left to do, which is hook up the steel. Conveyor belt Mark 3, you could... Damn it. Okay, come on. Damn it. All right, finally. Okay, there we go. So the iron ingots go in, the coal is going in, and this will start producing steel once we hook up the power. Then we're going to use that steel as the start of our main bus. Ah, yes, this is just going to... Yeah, this is going to get out of hand quickly, isn't it? To make all of this steel... Well, we've got our steel ingots now. They're all coming out on the Mark III conveyor belt. Now we want to convert all of those into steel girders. Where is it? These thingies here. These steel beams. Easy peasy. All you need is constructors. Now, there is one thing, though, I want to do. I want to leave space here. The reason being, we want to have a little stockpile coming out of this, so give me organization. Yes, we'll grab an industrial storage container. Why not? Say, put that here. Like, we'll just use this as sort of a template. So we want to have that at the end, hooking into the steel beam. So as the steel beams come out, they get stored, and before they go onto the bus. So we always have a stockpile. That's just going to be a marker. Then we're going to put all our steel production back here. Give me one moment to line them up. This could take a second. These only take basic constructors. It's quite easy to do. That's all of our basic constructors lined up in a row to produce steel beams. And those steel beams will come all the way down to the end, go into this large storage container, and then they come out and become the second item on our bus, being, you know, steel ingots and steel beams. Let's just hook this up now. Every time we want to break something off, we just stick on a splitter. For example, in this instance, we're splitting off the steel ingots. They go off that side. They all start getting processed, and now we're going to be swimming in steel. Of course, we made far too many of these. These things, basically all our steel ingots are going to be going towards steel beams, at least for a short while. But that's okay, because we need those steel beams to make the conveyor belts. Our conveyor belts are made entirely out of steel beams, so yeah, let's have lots of those right now. Next up, though, I think next up we're going to be putting a little bit of plastic on the bus. I know that makes no sense, but don't worry. It'll make sense after we do it. I'll put on plastic and then it'll start to make sense after that, hopefully. That blue line there is plastic added onto the bus. Now, the plastic is actually coming from, well, way over there. I'm going to have a few of them running. There's 3 of them operational, and the reason for that is, well, we haven't got the Tier 7 alternate recipes for plastic and rubber. They allow you with diluted fuel to do some crazy stuff, but we don't have that just yet, so we're just doing some basic plastic, and it's coming in under the ground, and it pops out right there. So that plastic adds to the bus. So iron ore gets smelted into iron ingots there, then the iron ingots get turned into steel ingots get turned into steel beams, and that gives us steel ingots, steel beams, and plastic. Now, let's build something with all of this that will give you a demonstration of how this main bus is intended to work. So we're going to build reinforced iron plates right here. If you don't recall reinforced iron plates, that is fine. Let's just grab an assembly machine here. This is reinforced iron plate. Now, it requires screws and iron plates to make normally, and we do have a few alternative recipes. We've got stitched plate and adhered iron plate, and 2 of these would actually be quite cheaper. In fact, this is the most expensive one, but we're still going to use it. The reason being it requires screws and iron plate. And, well, just say we want to get screws. Well, on our bus, we have access to steel beams, and we have an alternative recipe that allows us to turn steel beams into screws. And it allows us to turn 1 steel beam into 52 screws at 260 screws per minute, which is just ridiculously good. So while there are better alternatives in here, it's so cheap with what we've got that why not do it? In fact, let's grab this and put another one down over here. To make the iron plates, we're going to use a recipe no one uses. Just no one, I'd say. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but this requires 3 steel ingots, 2 plastic, and it gives us 18 iron plate. This is just ludicrous. We get 45 iron plate per minute. And this is very interesting because this thing requires 90 iron plate per minute, so it means 2 of our iron plate production via plastic will fill this, and it requires 250 screws per minute. We produce 260 with this. We'll be producing 10 screws more than we need. You know what? That's fine. So, 1 screw producer, 2 iron plate producers will completely fill this and allow us to produce 15 reinforced plate per minute. It's just a case of getting it belted up. So give me a couple of minutes. After a couple of minutes, maybe a couple more minutes than I would like to admit, took a while, we've got this over here. And this is how the bus is meant to work. We've got your plastic, and below that we've got your iron ingots, and all of them are coming down here. Oh, and we've also got your steel beams. So, steel beams get split off and turned into screws in that machine. the steel ingots and plastic come down here and get turned into iron plates in these two machines. So there we go. We got 45 coming out of each of those. That's 90 iron plate per minute. And over here we've got 260 screws per minute being produced by this machine. And they all get sent in here into the middle. And you see there they're being consumed, and it spits out 15 reinforced iron plate per minute. Now, the reason I went with this design was it's just stupidly efficient. If we tried to put iron plate on the bus, oh my god, yeah, let's just go and have a look at what... Actually, let's go look at the numbers. It'll just take a minute, and hopefully it won't be too boring. But make a wild guess in your head, just how much iron ore, how much iron ore, how much coal, plastic, all that roughly we're using per reinforced iron plate. The base cost of a reinforced iron plate is 6 iron plate and 12 screws. How much do you think we're making it for now? This here is the Satisfactory tools calculator, and I've set it up to use the recipes we're using. We just smelt the iron ingots, and I've set it up for 1 reinforced iron plate, just to give us an idea of how much it's costing. For example, if we set it to 15, we should see it's using 1 assembly machine, just like we are. But if we set it to 1, how much is it charging us for that 1 iron plate? Well, in terms of iron ore, we're smelting 1.5 iron ore per minute. So, I mean, these things take 6 iron plate normally. We're getting the whole thing for 1.5 iron ore, 1.5 coal. Remember, we're making steel here. And 1 crude oil. Now, that crude oil will definitely go down as we get some alternative recipes at level 7. But that means this, to build 1 reinforced iron plate, 1.5 coal, 1.5 iron ore, and 1.5 crude, and 1 crude oil. That's ridiculous. To run this whole setup is only costing us 22, like for 15 reinforced iron plate per minute, it's costing us 22.8 ore, 22.8 coal, 15 crude oil. Yeah, that's insane. Like, some of the alternative recipes, when you combine them together, just ludicrous. I chucked on a second reinforced iron plate assembler there at the end. Now we have, 30 reinforced iron plate per minute coming out of there? It's just... Let me give you another example of why I decided to go with this method. This here would be modular frames. When it comes to making modular frames, you have a few choices. We have several choices here, but the base one is 3 reinforced iron plate and 12 iron rods. That's the base one. Then you've got the bolted one, which requires 56 screws, and then you've got the alternate steeled frame. Alternate steeled frame is interesting because it should be a more convenient one. However, it's not for us. The reason being, for this one here, you need steel pipe. And normally you'd be like, oh, steel pipe, that would be handy enough. But that's going to cost us 3 iron ingots per steel pipe. And bear in mind, we're going to need 10 of them to produce 1. You know what? Let's just go have a quick look at the numbers. It'll be really easy. This here is the recipe using the steel pipe construction. That's going to cost us about 4.3 iron, 4.3 coal. And, a little bit of plastic. We're not going to worry about that for the moment. That's not really what's important here. But 4.3 iron, 4.3 coal. Using the bolted modular frames, the one with the screws, that will cost us 3.7 iron, 3.7 coal, a little bit of plastic. And finally, using the basic modular frame one, as in the default recipe, it only costs us 3.2 iron and 3.2 coal to make it that way. Or, to sum this up, this thing has been frying my noodle for the last couple of weeks. I have been going through the alternate recipes trying to figure out what's the cheapest ones to use. The problem is, we're only a few tiles deep and already it's gotten to just, insanity levels. You see, because we're going with the solid steel approach, this makes a whole bunch of the steel recipes cheaper, so long as we're using screws, rods, and things like that, meaning some of the basic recipes end up better than the recipes that should be better than them. But that's only 2 tiles deep. That's what... you gotta remember, that's just modular frames. What happens when we get to heavy modular frames? What happens when we get to some of the other later stuff, like Tier 5 things that have multiple items all the way through them? It gets really mind-numbingly complicated. But anyway, if we look over there to your left, you'll see that there's a bunch of, it's sort of like a gradient of transport belts. What I'm going to do is slowly increase the amount of things we have on the bus by just increasing that slider up there. And then all the way along here, we're going to have cargo boxes, and those boxes here, their only purpose is just to store stuff for us to grab out whenever we need it. So anytime we add anything to the bus, we stick on one of these boxes, it stores them up, and we can always have stuff here to come along and grab. As a little bit of a project, we added in a whole row of copper smelters. That's 9 copper smelters and 1 full row of copper ingots coming out of there. This at least gets us started on the copper production because we're going to need that for copper wire, and we're also going to need it for... what was the other thing? Copper rolls. Yeah, the copper rolls that we end up using in piping and a few other things. So we're going to need it for both of those things. Then we also need to put Caterium on the bus because we're going to need that for combining with this to make some wires and some other stuff. there's going to be a need for Caterium. We're also going to need to get crystal on it because we're going to want crystal oscillators. There is a whole bunch of stuff. Then we're going to need to want stators, rotors, motors, modular frames, heavy modular frames. Yeah, it's going to get a lot more complicated, but I'm cutting that for here for today. I've got stuff to do, unfortunately, for Christmas, so I'm cutting this one a bit short. But the plan is so simple. We just keep adding stuff onto the bus as we need it, and considering we're working off steel as our base, it means we shouldn't need an awful lot of, well, any duplicate lines, or very unlikely. As well as that, we are making enough iron ingots to run 1.5 lines of steel output. And I've left some space there to add some more on. I just didn't put it on today because, well, I was trying to get up to the point where you could see some of the possibilities of doing a solid or just a max steel approach where everything comes out of your steel. Makes things much handier. And maybe I'm a little bit crazy using that plastic over there to make iron plate. I know that seems absolutely insane, but it's just the efficiency of it is incredible. It just can't be beaten. And it means, and considering we're using this sort of belted approach or this main bus approach, it just makes things so much more convenient. As we need more and more things, we'll just chuck them on. Well, you know what? I'm just repeating myself. It's Christmas. Anyway, I'm going to cut this out here. I hope you enjoyed and good luck.